Here's a crazy one. I want to talk to you today about divorce. See, I think divorce has a branding problem. Now, this video today is for three different kinds of people. It's for people who may feel trapped in a loveless marriage and don't want to quit on it. It might be for people who have, got divorced and they're now living with the shame of failure. But it's also for people who know friends who are going through this. And you may even be feeling anger for this at the moment. But as a successfully divorced and happily remarried person, I want to share with you my experiences about how I got from being in a marriage that wasn't working to one that certainly is. And I hope to share that experience with you in a learning way. So, and by the way, when I say divorce, I mean breakups in general. So if that's of interest to you, well then stick around. Hey, so welcome to Lead Loud. Now, obviously, we're not talking about presentations today, and that's because sometimes leading loud means having uncomfortable conversations that maybe don't feel appropriate or don't feel like easy to have. Now, I have friends in all three of the scenarios above, and so I felt compelled to share my experiences, my successful experiences, because I felt that they could be helpful to other people. So it's going to be a personal one. It might go a little bit longer than usual, but I hope you find value. Maybe get a couple hot chocolate or something and let's get to it. All right, first things first here. There is a world of difference between defending divorce and glorifying it. As an extremely happily married man, I couldn't be more of a fan of sticking it out. It's honestly my hope that Jazz and I, when we die, will be in our 90s through simultaneous orgasm-induced heart attacks. Like, I want to be with this woman for the rest of my life. However, I also understand that I was only able to get into this relationship in the first place because my ex and I realized that our marriage wasn't going to work. I met my ex when I was 15. We started dating when I was 19. We were married when I was 26. And, we got divorced to the day 7 years later. There were ups and downs. Obviously, the core ups were being our two wonderful, amazing children that are the highlight of my life. And the downs, probably mostly my fault, if I'm honest. But the fact of the matter was, we kind of went through this roller coaster as marriages are. And one day we went to a counselor and we sat down with that counselor, and the counselor asked us, what is it you two want? What does an ideal marriage look like? And the eye opener was that we weren't here trying to get there. We were here trying to get there. And we went down for a lunch at a little place called Cafe Neo, and we were sitting there eating, and my ex turned around to me and said to me, "This isn't going to work, is it? We want different things." And I said, "Yeah, I don't think it is." And we took a walk along the promenade, we had a little cry, and we decided to get divorced. We shared a lawyer, and we managed to get divorced, with essentially one meeting to discuss all the terms of things, and we've remained relatively close since then. In fact, if ever there's a demand for it, if ever in the future you wanted to hear how I managed to get through that and how we navigated that, and how we managed to stay close together and keep the kids at the center of everything, that could be something. If there's an interest, I'll record that later. And I'll tell you what, I knew it was the right thing, but I was humiliated. I'd stood up in front of my friends and family and said, I'm going to be with this lady for the rest of my life. And the bottom line is, it was a failure. I didn't manage to make it happen. And that failure haunted me, like even later when I met Jazz. And I knew this is the woman that I want to spend my life with, but I didn't want to commit because I thought, well, I've already failed at this marriage thing once, I don't want to risk that humiliation again. And this is ridiculous because if you're in a job that doesn't work out, you leave. If you have a business partnership that you no longer want to be partners in, then, you dissolve the partnership. It's completely normal in a business sense. Why is it so different in life? And it was actually my EO forum that really helped me understand this and helped me reframe this, because when I thought about it, I was referring to this thing as a failure. But how could the marriage that created my two wonderful, amazing children be anything other than a success? I've had Missing Link for 25 years. It's paid for my entire life for that period of time. If it ends tomorrow, I can't call it a failure as a business. It's just, a very, very successful business that ended. And that's what I realized about my marriage. My marriage wasn't a failure. Nothing can be a failure if it gave me those kids. My marriage had and came to a successful exit. And once I understood that, everything changed for me. Let's stick with the kids for a second here, because I hear a lot of people saying we just want to stay together for the kids. But if I look at the relationship that I have with Jazz now with the kids, what my kids see is a relationship filled with love and respect and laughter and joy. And that is a far better blueprint for them and a far healthier environment for them to be with and to learn the lesson of just sticking something out because, we should. That's not the lesson. I don't want my kids to grow up to learn that they have to stick out horrible things. And I'm not saying the marriage was horrible. I'm saying that it got to a point where we were kind of passing each other in the hallways. And I want more for my kids. I wanted more for my ex. Like I wanted us to be in loving, committed relationships. And I think there are better blueprints for the kids. Now, I'm an atheist, right? So I believe that this is the only chance we get. This life, this is it. And in, my context, my life is the longest thing I'll ever do. And if I'm going to be spending that much of my time in it, I want to do it with somebody that I want to spend every moment of my life with. And that's what we should want for ourselves. And it's what we should want for the people around us. Sticking it out, partnering with somebody that isn't filling your tank, that's not a good thing. Why would we want to persevere for that? If your children were in a relationship that wasn't loving and that they weren't getting fulfilled and happy, would you want them to stay in it just because? Or would you want them to pursue happiness with all that they could? Well, I realized I wanted that for my children, so I wanted that for my children. And here's the deal. If you do get a second chance around, and you will if you look for it, you get a second chance to do better. After my divorce, I went for years of counseling trying to turn me into a better human. And then when me as a better human met a better human still, I wanted to put that into practice. And I spent every day of my life trying to take what I learned from my first marriage to make my second marriage a success. That's the upside here. We get better. Look, divorce is devastating any way you play it. But you have a chance to look at it as either a horrible ending or as a new beginning. And I implore you to try and look at it as the latter and not the former. If you have friends going through a divorce, one friend who's decided that they have to move on, your cries of, stick it out or remember your vows, they are cruel and unhelpful, right? Your friend has already mapped everything out and made the decision to move on. Asking them to stay in a loveless marriage isn't helping anybody. A marriage is supposed to be a life support system, not a life sentence. And when the former becomes the latter, the best thing you can do is move on. And if your friend or friends have decided to do that, the only thing that you can do is support them on that journey. Understand that this is, not just the end of something, it is the beginning of something new that could be beautiful, and they'll need their friends around them for that. So absolutely it is possible to turn a failing marriage into a successful exit. I am now a loving father and husband in a relationship now with my second wife that my first wife deserved or deserves. And so do you. Everybody deserves this amazing, beautiful relationship that Jazz and I have. But it was only possible because I was able to move on. To close, please just understand that a divorce is an end, not the end. It is the start of a metamorphosis that can turn you and your partner into better people. It should not, and hopefully never will be, a decision that you take lightly. But if you do decide to take it, please just use it as an opportunity to learn and grow. That's certainly what I did. Now, that's it from this one. We'll be back to our regular programming next week. But I hope you found this valuable, and I hope that it resonated with some of you out there. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.